Whoa, America, is this legs? It's Astrostetics, let's get it, baby. Whoa, we got exclusive footage of this gentleman, Comrade Cinque. Now, real quick, bruh, I don't know exactly how to say your last name, if it's Cinque, or Sink, but big shout out to you. I'ma just call you Conrad, alright? But this gentleman, he delivered an excellent breakdown of what was going on with Diddy and Diageo. Because y'all know that the word around town is that they pushed a red button with this Diddy situation. A lot of the things that he was saying, they gave some interesting insight. America, make sure y'all get some wine and unwind, roll something up. But peep this, America.
P. Diddy has garnered a lot of enemies over the past few months, the biggest being the United States government and its new criminal investigation against him. But his biggest enemy came in May of 2023, when he filed a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against the alcoholic beverage company Diageo. Why would Puff file a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against them? He claimed that they were engaging in racist practices. Before we get into the weeds of this lawsuit, let's talk about the company first. Diageo is the world's largest premium alcoholic beverage company with a net worth of $74 billion, making it the 254th most valuable company on the planet. Some of the key shareholders, Vanguard and BlackRock. And in 2023, Warren Buffett, the snowball, opened his wallet and spent $42 million on Diageo stock, which is currently selling for $136 a share on the NYSE stock index. Beyond Ciroc, which connects it to Puff, what other liquor brands do they own? Johnny Walker, Smirnoff, Bailey's, Captain Morgan, to name a few. And in 2017, they purchased Don Julio and gave George Clooney $1 billion to purchase Casamigos. Those last two is where Puff has an issue. In 2007, Diageo was losing $40 million a year on a brand they had called Ciroc. So they contact Puff because they seen that he had a major influence in the lifestyle world. So Puffy signs on to promote Ciroc. Now the deal was he would just get a sponsorship fee for promoting the brand. He didn't have any ownership in it. Sort of like the influencer deals that you would see here, where a company will contact the influencer and pay them a flat fee to promote a product. Same thing, way more money. Puffy sets out on this unprecedented advertising campaign, turns it completely around and makes Ciroc a household name and one of the most popular vodkas in the world, but he has no ownership in it. This leads to the flavored Ciroc variants: peach, apple, coconut. They don't give him any ownership in the unflavored Ciroc, but what they do tell him is you can get X amount of dollars off each case of flavored Ciroc that ships. That's when you see Diddy starting to heavily promote flavored Ciroc bottles and why he was doing that. What Diageo didn't see coming is having to pay him $60 million a year off that deal. Here's the important part. Before Diageo started their partnership with Diddy, they were shipping 40,000 cases of Ciroc a year. 10 years later, with Puff being the face of Ciroc and promoting it, they were shipping 2.6 million cases. Keep in mind, Puffy is a boss, not an influencer. During this time, Puff started to see that tequila was becoming the popular drink that people wanted. So Puff buys the tequila brand De Leon. And Diageo, the company that he has made billions, is the distributor of it. Unbeknownst to Puff, they had also went and bought Don Julio and Casamigos from George Clooney. Neither company had made them a dime in the past 10 years. And then what Diageo did really pissed off Puff. First, we got to talk about supply and demand. If a company controls your supply and demand, they can determine your financial future. If they only make a small supply of your product and ship it to a small number of locations where people can buy it, you're only going to have a few buyers. Diddy owned 50% of De Leon and Diageo owned the other 50%, and Diageo was responsible for supply and distribution. Unlike Ciroc, where Diddy didn't have any ownership, he owned 50% of De Leon. What does that mean? Out of the billions of dollars that Puffy had made selling Ciroc, they only had to give him a few $100 million. They made over $70 billion. But because Puff owned half of DeLeon, they were going to have to split those billions with him. They resented paying Puff the few hundred millions for Ciroc. Now it was looking like they was going to have to split the billions with him down the middle. Remember, he took Ciroc from shipping 40,000 cases a year to 2.6 million. Even if he got close to doing for DeLeon what he was doing for Ciroc, they were going to have to cut a huge check. DeLeon launches and Puffy goes into full throttle salesman mode. Sort of like what he was doing for Ciroc, but on steroids. Sales start to come in and they are abysmal. Diageo only made a small amount of DeLeon and only shipped it to certain locations. What locations you talking about, comrade? The urban landscape. And Diageo stopped signing off on advertising budgets. So Diddy decides to investigate with his own people the infrastructure that Diageo had created to play their role in the contract of making DeLeon a success. This brings us to the agave plant. Agave plants are the primary ingredients in making tequila, and they are grown in Mexico. So Diddy decides to send his people to Mexico to see how many agave plants Diageo had planted for DeLeon.
I had to send my people down to Mexico, and this is just to tell you what the fight is about. They went down to Mexico, and when they got down there, they found out that there was 0 agave planted for DeLeon. So there was no plan for us to be successful. There was no equal treatment. The other brands, they had agave planted.
And most of the agave that was planted for Casamigos, whom Diageo had just gave George Clooney $1 billion. Puff is pissed, and he files his lawsuit citing discrimination and breach of contract. This is where it gets really interesting, but I want to recap the company that Diddy is going up against. Diageo is the 254th most valuable company on the planet, worth $74 billion. Its two main investors are BlackRock and Vanguard, two of the most powerful, richest companies on the planet. BlackRock and Vanguard together basically own the planet Earth. Pay close attention to this timeline. May of 2023, Puffy files his lawsuit. In June of 2003, Diageo gives a public response. They say that Diddy is trying to extract billions of dollars from the company, and his inflammatory rhetoric about racism is going to cast a bad shadow on the company. Then they file a motion citing a part of Puff contract that said that this issue should be handled in private arbitration. Basically, they were saying if it wasn't for the claims of racism, this was just a standard business disagreement. In September, the judge presiding over that case denied that motion and set it for trial and made the trial open to the public. Remember, this is September. 1 month later, Cassie files her lawsuit, and the snowball that is currently the trials of Diddy started. Cassie files her lawsuit November 2003. January 2004, Puffy's lawsuit with Diageo gets resolved and they release a joint statement. Sean Combs and Diageo no longer have any business dealings. And guess what Diageo also got in this settlement? Full ownership of DeLeon. And all y'all seem to care about is freak-offs and baby oil.
Whoa. What? Yo, that was wild, right? He did a great job with this. He said that Diageo, and we checked it out, Diageo's net worth is $77 billion, almost $80 billion. And Diddy, with these lawsuits and lawyer fees, he probably, if he was a billionaire, he paid off $18 million for the house. Diddy could probably be sitting maybe at 700 million, 600 million right now, right? He paid out Cassie 30 million. Diageo got 1,000 times more money than Diddy with this stuff. You got resources, a lot of money, a lot of assets. That gives you access. The connections that those people may have on that level, dealing with all that money. Y'all heard some of those names that was mentioned, BlackRock, etc. That's when you start dealing with James Bond level type of mission. You geopolitical. You want a judge to do what? you want a judge to do, huh? That's when you could just push a button and they'll put a stop sign and a stoplight in places where you thought it was go. You know how sometimes you driving down the street and then you like, yo, what the? They put a stoplight here? Yeah, they could make that happen. So when you think you going somewhere because you're suing these guys, you're talking about, Diddy was speaking about the illusion of inclusion when he was speaking to the Earn Your Leisure guys, right? Remember he gave them $1 million. Diddy was using some of the woke, conscious community stuff a little bit. Yo, Diddy was going crazy, getting sagey, right? Now there's nothing wrong with sage, right? Get your sage on, But what we're saying is that Diddy was tapping into the woke stuff a little bit. And he was using that under the guise of the black excellence thing. And allegedly when he went over there to the agave fields, and y'all heard the gentleman mention it, but you know with the agave, that's used to obviously produce the tequila. I think it's indigenous to Mexico. I think it's indigenous to Central America. They have to make sure that they got some type of invested interest in that, right? But now Diddy, it sounds like he sent some investigators there. And they checked it out. Y'all heard what the guy said, and they like, yo, they ain't got no agave for you. And you know, I think it comes down to, if they're only kind of limiting a product to the urban market, they could mathematically cap how much money Diddy would get every year. And allegedly he was getting paid a percentage off North American sales. That's what I thought. And then this gentleman, comrade, said that he was getting paid off the peach Ciroc. That sounds like a solid deal. When it comes to like the royalties, real ownership of it, they wasn't letting him really get no type of leeway with that. And then when he mentioned what they was doing with the brand, right, almost like limiting his reach, it seems like they didn't want him to bring that Diddy effect to the Darion. That's an interesting point. But you see, here's my thing with that, right? This dude, Diddy, is a notorious figure. I'm gonna keep it 1,000. A lot of the stuff that Diddy's being accused of is stuff that people have been hearing about for years. Regardless of the Diageo situation, regardless of that, there's people that would have always felt like this about Diddy. I'll give you one. 50 Cent. Like 50, come on, like, I mean, a lot of the thing, do y'all think 50 is surprised at these allegations? Aside from the mirage, the dozens of people online that do Diddy videos, that have been doing Diddy videos for the past 5 years, what about all of them? And there's even famous, more notable people that have said things about Diddy. And I mean, what do you guys say? Like, when y'all try to make it seem like Diageo is just like, it's like a conspiracy theory, and it's like they're doing this because they don't want this guy to accumulate a lot of power, or however you guys are trying to spin that. Well, what about all of the other stuff that people have been saying for years? I mean, you know, that's why I think with this situation, it shows a lot of issues with a lot of things deeper than the entertainment industry. And that's a whole other video. If y'all think that there's people with some political associations that don't look at the industry, politics as a serious problem, then you're bugging. With this Diddy situation, it goes beyond a certain line, because Diddy at some point was way larger than just hip hop. That right there, some people, they don't care about anything but just the political aspect of this stuff. You get what we're saying? We're gonna do another video on that. There's a few people that look at some movements of the industry dynamics as a problem. The socializing aspect of the industry, how the industry is kind of like geared, and the values of the industry in general. There's people that don't like it. You know, like they'll look at the industry as like a a very 100% socially driven thing. You know what? You get what we're saying? And that's when things get a little political with it. But I think when, we be trying to keep it on the vibes, and I don't have no problem getting into the politics, but I don't think a lot of people that do media and commentary, like, I don't think a lot of us are like political scientists. I think that's why, a lot of us try to be careful when it comes to speaking on the political aspect. But that area that I think a lot of us try to be careful of, that's where a lot of these problems with Diddy are arising as well. Y'all get what we're saying? But I think will more information will come out with that, right? If there's any political people attached to the Diddy situation. But I mean, Diddy did get the key to the city, things like that. And when we look at what's going on with that situation, it happened right after Diddy got indicted. There still hasn't been any word of connection between Diddy and Eric Adams, and I really hope there's not. But once again, they've been looking at Eric Adams for a long time. And I think Eric Adams knew he was under investigation for years, right? Just like how people have been saying a lot of these things about Diddy for a long time. It's not just like since last year. Like, let's be realistic about this. Y'all feel me? And I'm also not even trying to insinuate or allude at all. 100%, I am not alluding to the fact that the Diddy and Eric Adams indictments are connected at all. But, I'm just saying that if it is, then that's where, the political things that you're trying to avoid. I mean, the industry is attached to politics as well. Just from what I be seeing, Astrostetics, let's get it, baby, yeah.